What are you eating, mate?
Oh, do you know what? My mate gave me this go on this thing called the TENS machine. Have you heard about that?
No, mate, I have not.
And I was just getting it out. It's just kind of good for your back. So I was just getting it on my back if I can.
Okay. Sounds like fun. All
Yeah.
right. There's some chance that we are actually going live to YouTube, which is wonderful news. Well, I think it's wonderful news. It will depend on what happens in the next half hour to an hour or so as to whether that's good news or not. Welcome aboard if you are with us. And wow, what a market we have. What an incredible market we have. And it's pretty much 15 all. And
Yeah.
Trump was the server, or was he? And now it's come straight back into his court. What's he going to do, Ash?
Oh, I mean, it's from what I gather, it seems that Trump is quite happy with the retaliation that Iran have taken. Now, whether that means that he's happy because he thinks that may be an end to it, or whether or whether there was some sort of arrangement, who knows? And whether that's the end of it, that's the real question, I think, because from the accounts that I've heard, it doesn't seem like the Iranians really want to kind of be involved in all-out conflict, and this could be a way just to kind of appease the situation a little bit, appease the people that there's been some kind of retaliation without really kind of flexing in any muscle that they would certainly get pushed over if America did decide to flex their muscle. So it appears to be a, if there is such a thing, a positive retaliation rather than a negative retaliation. We did see the markets come off quite significantly, and it hit the pretty much exactly the level that I was looking at taking profit. But unfortunately, I was asleep. So it came all the way down, not quite the monthly pivot, but it's pretty close. So it might still come down and touch that area, but I suspect we may well be looking at a fairly maybe not positive necessarily, but maybe not as negative as it could be. I don't think this market is probably going to be as negative as it at first appeared. It
but
looks
still
okay.
very, very difficult to be long, isn't it? I would have thought.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's a tricky market. There's no two ways about it. It's going to be a tough period to trade through.
I think
And
we'll probably know more when Trump wakes up, and that's kind of his thing. He'll probably tweet something,
yeah,
or there'll be an announcement, and I think the market will probably react to whatever that is.
yeah. I mean,
And
the
that's
announcement that
what
he
makes
did
it
give.
tricky.
He did give an announcement after the bombing yesterday, and it was effectively all good. We are the strongest, most powerful nation in the world, and we've got all this stuff.
Yeah,
But
that was a tweet as well. I don't think that was a press thing. So
no, that's right. It was a tweet. Yeah.
he hasn't actually stood up and said anything yet apart from that. So you can read whatever you want into it, I guess. We better place this trade, I suppose.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
And we'll go through yesterday how we actually turned a loser into a winner.
Oh, great.
And but it'll have to go down as a loser by the strategy.
Okay.
Which I have done. All right, so today we're going long at 131.49. Oh, hang on, that's not right. We've just changed. 131.72. Make that 131.72 is our long.
131.72.
Actually,
And it's because of the high of the hourly bar, is it?
Yeah, we're going 10 above the high of the hourly bar. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
10 above the high of the hourly bar, which is a buy stop. Did I say 72?
Yes.
131.72. And the stop loss will be 5 below the bar. Again, guys, if you want to trade this more conservatively, use the range of the last 3 bars. So you'd be 5 underneath that one, which would bring you in around about 131.10 as your stop loss and your entry short, mind you. But the stop loss and entry I'm using is 131.21. 131.21, And we won't worry about take profit at this point. We will place that as a buy stop. Okay, and we'll do exactly the same in the opposite direction. Which will be a sell stop. And I can't remember the numbers. Come on. 131.21 will be the entry. And the stop loss will be 72, was it? I think was the number.
Yeah, 131.72 is your entry.
Yep. Okay, and stop loss on the short. All right, so there we go. Both orders in the market. That is both the entry and the stop loss. Entry for the long, stop loss for the short.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
And that's the entry for the short, stop loss for the long. Okay, so we won't need to worry about that until triggered. Now, just quickly on yesterday, we entered on this bar here, as you'll recall, and we got the breakout fairly quickly. And I said at the time, you've got to take something off the table here. We're here with DR1, wherever DR1 was around about this level.
I remember that. Yeah.
That was 32 pips in profit. And I took half off the table at 32 pips. We then trailed our stop from where it was to here, which was minus 21 pips, I think, from memory. I can't remember exactly what it was. But anyway, it was 10 pips positive, or around about 10 pips positive, because we micromanaged the trade. Now, as I said before, that is not the strategy. But whilst ever I'm in front of a chart and I see a surge like that, I'm always going to take profit at resistance. So that's what I did. But it goes down as a loss, and it was a loss of 0.56%, trading at 1%. So that brings our aggregate down to 10.81% positive, using the method that I'm using, the stop loss and entry on the inverse. So entry for the long is the stop loss for the short, and we lost 0.65 on the alternate version, which is put your stop loss on the high low of the candle, because the risk obviously becomes a little bit greater if that is the case. So down to 12.4%, we've lost 1.15% in 3 losers this week. Sorry, 2 losers this week. One was on Friday, and we've had 3 in a row. So we're getting very, very close to 50-50 here. But, you know, like I said before, if you can get 50-50 and maintain a 12.4% over 31 trades, then I'm happy with that. Obviously, we would like to see a winner sometime soon, especially for those who've just kind of joined, I guess. You'd be wondering what the heck's going on here with those 2 losers that we've had so far this week. But if you micromanaged yesterday like I did, you should have turned that into a winner. So hopefully not so bad. All right. I don't know if you actually saw that chart, to be fair, because I think you've got a double share on this thing before you actually do see that chart. All right, so no entry on the pound. Ash, I think probably come to you and go through the FTSE. I've got a couple of things I'm looking. Oh, actually, before I do go, I do have one order in the market, and it looks like it's just been triggered. It is pound Kiwi short. It's above entry at the moment if you're interested in taking it. Look, it's high risk, as I said to my my trade group. It is a very high risk trade, and I don't know about counting on, but I'm using technicals only. I'm not going into the Brexit. I'm not going into the war or pending wars. This is a technical scenario that I'll get to or come back to, but it's got a lot of stuff going for it technically, in my humble opinion. So TP1's a little bit ambitious, I must say. We might even adjust that if we get the opportunity. But the entry, if you're interested in watching the trade, is 1.9717. And the stop loss is 158 pips above that. I can't remember what the level is. It is, it's not even going to tell me. 158 onto that would be, I'm not even going to exercise my brain on that. Stop loss is at 1.9875. And my first profit level is at 1.9580 or 81 actually. And my second take profit level is at 1.9462-ish. And after that, I'll let the rest run if we're lucky enough to get put into that position. So I'm not saying I'm pound bearish. I'm not saying I'm pound anything, to be fair. And that's why it's a high risk trade, because the pound is involved and anything could happen with that at the moment. Ash, you can probably fill us in what happened overnight, I guess, with what happened in Parliament.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess that will take something of a bit of the news today. But
you're way off mic, mate. By the way.
Oh, is that better?
That's a better.
Cool. Yeah, you know, it takes something of the news today, but really, you know, we definitely are front and center talking about this this issue in the Middle East. So really, yesterday in Parliament, the Prime Minister just set out the trade deal deadline. You know, looking to get the leave the EU by the 31st of January and get the trade deal done by December this year. So he just reiterated that. Wasn't anything you know, particularly exciting, which I think we did see a kind of a sanguinish kind of sentiment really from the pound anyway. How that's affecting the FTSE, let me just show you what's going on with the FTSE today. But you know, it's not really to do with the pound. The pound's a little bit of a non-event right now, even though you know, we know that Brexit's still going on and things are still happening there. Really, when we look at the pound, it's kind of being priced in. You know, there's no real new news going on. But if we consider what's going on in the Iranian situation, then really the FTSE's a buy. You know, it's we've had some fairly a massive gap this morning, which I'll be looking for the market to close up at some point this morning. I think we do actually edge higher. You know, so far, and we have actually opened fairly positively. If we look at the 5-minute chart here, then we can see a fairly positive bar attempting to form here, and that's into around about 25 seconds to go before that's forming. We've just broken out of this particular area here. So the longs really should be considered, and you know, you're looking at maybe a 20 pip stop, and you're probably going to be aiming for around about the daily pivot. It could be the gap, but it could be the daily pivot, so there might be a little bit more room to the upside. Next, really big news event, I guess, is going to be Donald Trump's speech, which is going to be 3 o'clock, I think, UK time, and I think the market may well want to wait on that rather than anything else to see whether it's going to make any kind of decision on a downward direction, because I don't really see why a downward direction would take hold here, if I'm honest, mate. You know, we obviously have issues. Difficult because this area that the market came down to was an area that I was looking at for it to test. And it's kind of done that now. There's a breakout zone there. It's tested and bounced straight back up again. So now it's done that. It's kind of got the green light to go a little bit higher. Obviously, it's going to be difficult to call that, but it has got a green light to go that little bit higher. Now, I was at the start of the week obviously calling for some downside, but now we've kind of closed this. You know, we've satisfied this particular movement. I wonder whether the downside will ensue, or whether we actually are able to pop up. But I wouldn't be surprised at all to see us back up to the kind of daily pivot level. So probably looking at around about a 30 pip run to the upside before any protection comes into place. Maybe wrong, you know, because we haven't touched the monthly pivot, and it could be that that it wants to come back all the way back down again, touch that before it starts moving up. But I've got to be honest, mate. I don't really see the turmoil over in Iran. Sorry, well, it's Iraq actually, as being that significant. We knew there'd be a retaliation. As retaliations go, this seems fairly measured and fairly passive in some respects, if there's any such thing as a passive retaliation. But it doesn't appear to be quite as intense as was possibly mentioned by the Iranian government. And because of that, I wonder whether Trump will react in the way that that every suspected and that he said he would do. He said that there'd be, I think, 52 sites that were up for grabs if the Iranians decided to retaliate. But because of the way they've retaliated, and I don't think there's any reports of anybody being injured. I think it was a very
I think that's BS. Frankly, I
yeah.
mean, how can all those missiles hit a site? You mean no one was there at the time? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, well, I don't think anybody was injured from the American side, so I should clarify that.
I don't believe that. I think that's bullshit.
The Iranians apparently have been, there are some Iranian
I
casualties.
mean, the one thing that we must be aware of, that what we hear coming out of, and no matter who it is, what we hear coming out of is going to tend to be what they want you to hear, and not necessarily the truth. Yeah. And I think, the Americans, if there are casualties, which I suspect there would be, but I know nothing, and I want 100% put a massive disclaimer on this. This is simply my interpretation of what's going on, and nothing more than that. So please don't take this as expert commentary. It is not anything like that. But my humble opinion is that I can't believe that they would land those missiles if there were, and they're talking 15 missiles, and I can't believe they didn't have any casualties. Doesn't make any sense to me at all. But anyway, that said, I don't think and I agree with you, the market's waiting for what Trump's going to say, but I don't think what Trump has to say will have any bearing on what he's going to do, frankly. I think he'll choose his words very wisely. The speech will be written for him, and he'll say what he needs to say at this point in time to maybe placate the world press, if you like. After that is when we'll get our next movement in the market, and I think that move will wait until there is a strike or otherwise.
Yeah.
So we'll probably see a market that's again nervous until such times as we see a strike or otherwise. And I think that's the way it'll play out. Again, I'm no expert. I'm certainly no geopolitical expert. I'm certainly no war expert. That is simply my opinion.
Yeah, and actually quite interesting because the difficulty with all this is this gap. That there's a 52 pip gap there on the FTSE 100, which is pretty much a whole day's range in
52. This number keeps bobbing up.
Yeah, that was the gap on the futures market anyway, which means there was no orders.
It's also the number of sites, isn't it, that he's got?
Yes, yeah, there is actually, yeah, but the real
the number
point
of weeks in the year, and we're now one in.
we are one in, yeah, we are one in. So difficult to trade that though, and I think you and I were talking off air and saying how tough it was going to be, to try and trade through this period. And when you get gaps like that, if you were long in this position and would have stops under here, you've lost a lot of money when you eventually got filled. So that's what's going to make this market very, very difficult, and it's just going to make it a market that the caution has to be right front and center, and it is tantamount really to protect your trades through this period and potentially not even trade.
Yeah, look, it's very tempting to take advantage of what will be big moves when they come. There's no doubt about that. And, some people make a heck of a lot of money on it. And guess what? Other people lose a heck of a lot of money on it. If you're on the right side of it, happy days. But, the risk involved in actually finding a position right now, where do you put your stops? How wide are you prepared to put them? Are you prepared to take profit instead of letting it run? All of those things run through my mind. And like I said yesterday, if you're prepared to keep very wide stops and take profit very early, then, maybe you can make some money out of this. But high risk, it's really high risk.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. Well, I mean that's where I'm at anyway, mate. I'm just kind of going to be sitting and waiting. If the market pops up, then I think there's something to be done, but not until we get to 75. You know, somewhere around about 7,500, and I don't really want to do anything until we get down to this point, which may be maybe just a little bit. It's only 12 pips away from the monthly pivot, but either there or the monthly pivot is really the next point of call for me. I wouldn't want to do anything until we hit those levels, really.
Yep, cool. I look, I'm not dissimilar, but I will take you through a couple of things that I'm looking at, and you'll have to stop sharing. I think if
Oh
we're
yeah,
to do
sorry,
that.
yeah. There you go.
Okie dokie, happy days. That would be me. Look, in spite of everything that has happened overnight, not a lot has changed from with my point of view. I was waiting on the Aussie to find some support, and I suppose it's found support in one area here. But it's below that support, which is interesting. So it's very, very tough to be thinking, no, okay, let's go long here. We got a spike below this support. You could call that a support level, I suppose. But this resistance level here, which has had previous support, which is pretty much where price is at the moment, or where price opened this morning, is exactly the level that that I would like to trade off, if you like. It's probably a decent Fibbo as well, but on the whole move, not on the immediate move. Nice little hammery type looking bar there at the support level, but you know, really, really tough to trade this for me. It's hanging in no man's land apart from this level. Daily pivot untested, so there's not a lot of reward here. Maybe, you know, certainly room to take profit, and I could have taken that when early this morning, but I decided no, we're hanging in no man's land, and the attack, of course, was pretty much happening as or just before we got into this situation of this morning. So I was not willing to take the risk on Aussie long in a situation such as that, and I think that's pretty much the same as I'm going to stay. I can't see me trading against what is tantamount to you know, a powder keg. So I'm not going to do that, especially when I've got resistance dead ahead. Euro dollar, I've been waiting to trade this short pretty much all the week, which is now 2 days old or 2.5 days old. But it just won't give me what I'm looking for. Maybe today is the day, I don't know. We've got a little trade line coming through here. Maybe we can play something off this. I'll see what happens with this bar here. I'd like to see it come down, take out this low, and then retest either the trend line or the monthly pivot. Probably the trend line would be best because the monthly pivot's been spattered. So I do like a clean sort of scenario. So the trend line would be good. Then I can look to trade this short, at least down to the trend line and maybe the bottom of the range. You know, I think with, and I said this at the beginning of the week, and we were talking about this in the original show on Sunday, where what would happen if war is declared, and in particular with the greenback. And I think the general consensus was that we'd see a strong greenback until such times as we got a prolonged conflict. And I think on the back of that, that's why I'm a little bit more bearish the euro than I probably would be otherwise. I'm not full-time bearish or long-term bearish because I see the potential for this to go back to this major trend line up here, this one here. But I did think that we could come back to at least this one beforehand and still get a cycle that's going higher highs and higher lows. So back to here somewhere, then look to trade it long. That was my my thought process throughout Sunday and Monday. Nothing's really changed that in spite of the conflicts. In fact, there's probably added to my short buys. Could have looked at that candle there. I did look at that candle there and thought maybe, but again, trading straight in support is not what I'd like to do. So the safer way for me would be to wait for this to take out the low, hit the DS1, then come back to the trend line, and I think that would be the time that I'd like to go short on euro US dollar. Cable, it's a mess. It really is a mess. Higher highs, lower lows, higher lows, lower highs. It's all over the place like a mad woman's breakfast. And really, I can't find a way in here. I do like the trend line, and I like this one as well. But eventually, I guess we'll shoot out of here like a broken toothpaste tube. But at the moment, very, very hard to predict. So, really tough. I'm happy to trade them.
It's a tough play with the dollar because obviously the dollar, will be a safe haven as well.
Yep.
And this is why, anything like this is so tough to predict. I remember just a talk that Kim Jong-un was going to be dropping some sort of bomb, sent the market just in a complete frenzy to the downside. And yet this time we've actually had some action, and yet it's fairly passive, isn't it?
Well, look at yesterday. Well, look at this morning's move. It was a pretty big move this morning, but
yeah,
it wiped out straight away.
Yeah,
it's gone as though it never happened.
Yeah, yes, exactly. We're within a matter of how many hours? 4.
Yeah, look, pick a currency pair, I suppose. Dollar yen, I guess, would be one that you'd look at. There's an hourly chart on dollar yen, bang down, and twice, then 1, 2, 3, 3 hours later, back to where we began, and we're still there now. It tends to make
that's
me
an
think,
interesting one, isn't it? What about gold?
It really is. Sorry.
What about gold? I mean, gold.
Gold.
I think quite a fascinating move on gold as well, and it looks like that's reversing as well from the highs.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder. And you were talking about the COT report on Monday, of course.
Yeah.
The reason I think, well, it won't be the reason, but one of the reasons this just gets knocked off as soon as it goes high is, as you said, the people who are selling gold are selling it in big licks as soon as they get another high price. Whether that's strong enough to bring it back down is another story. But is the speech by the Ayatollah and the tweet by Donald Trump enough to stop this going long? I just don't know about that. I really don't know. And that's
it could pause it for a while. You see, I mean, a lot of people will have their positions in gold. The COT report I find quite interesting because just because we only have to look at the Aussie, which I'll bring up unless you got anything like pending right now.
No, mate, no. I was only going through what I'm looking at, and I don't think there's anything outstanding. I'll just have a quick look. I was waiting again for the Aussie to come back into here. That's going to take some time. EuroCAD's still in play because it's at the bottom of the range, but I'm bearish the euro. So if this smashes through here, which it can do, obviously, I'll still be waiting for that to come back. So I'm really a long way from being in the market, to be honest.
Okay, so let me quickly take this. I am too, to be honest. I think I just think this is going to be too difficult to trade, and I don't think we should be really participating. I think it's one of those. I've got a bit of management to do, but aside from that, I'm not going to be taking any new positions on. Look at the Aussie. Now, the Aussie's an interesting one because when we look at the COT report and try and make assumptions on the direction of the market, it's still going to be a very broad-based decision that we are taking. So this is the Australian dollar, and the commercials over the last 36 months. You can see that there's some heavy buying up here. When the index is high, it's showing that there is heavy buying here. over long periods, and yet the Aussie continues to move down. There's still more buying and more buying and more buying and more buying. Now it's started to pop up, so it may well start to pop up and go from here. And I think if we were to draw a trend line on the Aussie, that may well be through. I guess I'm right on that, mate. I wouldn't say for sure, but I guess I'm right on that. So that's suggesting that that there's some upside probably to come with the Aussie. But it took a long time. That's the end of last year where the commercials were heavily long on the Aussie, and it hasn't really it hasn't really kind of come to fruition. Now, if we compare that to to gold, then we know that that they are heavily short gold. The commercial positions are quite happy to be selling into gold. Market's now coming down on the FTSE 100, so I suppose there's still some nervousness out there, and we'll have to see how this plays out. But the commercials are heavily short on gold, and yet the market still continues to pop higher. So you can see here there's a massive disparity, and in actual fact they're even more. But from Tuesday this week, they were selling even more positions. So this market to pop higher, it's going to find it pretty tough probably. But we only have to look at the Aussie, as I say, for, to show evidence that that the COT data doesn't always mean that the commercials are going to be able to turn that tankard round within the next few periods. And when we have things like the potential for a conflict going on, is there really any reason for this to turn around? And that's the big question, really, isn't it? I mean, yes, they look like they're heavily short, but until things start to clear up a little bit, is that really going to happen? The FTSE 100 is now moving into negative territory. We'll look at the S&P. And the S&P is it's actually fairly stable, the S&P, which is quite interesting. Maybe poking its head through a little bit. Dow Jones is certainly off its highs, and maybe moving down a little. The Australian dollar, which as we said a few days ago, would be considered a risk-on currency, is selling off. We spotted the euro. We spotted the yen earlier on, and this is gold on the H1. It's popped up, but it's started to ease back again. Do people start getting back in here? Well, who knows? But it's certainly it could be tricky. The market could well be tricky, and I don't really know what the best play on this is. But I think if we're going with the commercials, probably allow them to sell it off and then look for the longs rather than trying to hop in short with them, because there's just too much in the way right now with this stuff.
Yeah, look, timing's everything on things like gold, because we know that there are people going to take profits as soon as they get higher levels. We know that, and that's what you're just saying. But yeah, what we don't know is when and if Trump returns serve. That's what we don't know, and that's what will drive gold higher if he does. Yes,
absolutely. I don't think he will, mate. I don't think he will. I mean, maybe the market comes down a little bit on speculation of the speech, but I don't know if he will return serve. I think that it might be sort of like, it might go a little bit quiet again.
Mate, I hope so. I hope that's the case. Market aside, I really think that we need stability in the world rather than this game of let's throw a few missiles at each other, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
We don't need that. We're on shaky ground. In Australia at the moment, we're having all sorts of issues with fire. We don't need anything else to distract us. That's for sure. We're desperate for rain, and we're desperate for the fires to go out.
Yeah.
And everyone around the world's got their own little issues to deal with.
Yes.
And I don't mean that's to put little on the back of fires and drought, because it's very, very substantial. But everyone's got their own little foibles and problems that they have to work through. We don't need all this crap going on. We really don't.
No, absolutely right, mate. Absolutely right. And yeah, I mean, the markets will decide what's how the news should be read and written. But when it comes down to it, we're speculators just like everybody else. Nobody knows. Exactly. Not one person knows what's going to happen in the world, and all we can do is speculate. And I guess if we focus on the economics seem to be still fairly strong. So there will be plenty of people out there happy to buy this market, but there's tension in the world, and that means that people are going to be pretty nervous about that particular position. So we will just have to take positions as we see fit, and make sure, as we said before, that we manage the situation properly.
Yep, and my position hasn't changed. If I do find an entry, then it will be at very small risk, as this one is today on pound Kiwi. That's not doing so well at the moment. And I'll be taking profit very quickly. So nothing's changed. Exactly, except that, well, when I say nothing's changed, we've had a massive change in the last 12 or 13 hours or so, but that's got me on the back foot as well. And I like you, I don't want to be in the market at the moment. I want to see what happens in the next 28, 24, 48, 72 hours. Maybe next week is the time to come back into the market. We shall see. And again, as I said before, people are going to make a lot of money when this market moves, because it's going to move a long way.
Yes, it is.
But the downside of that is you're taking massive risk going into that, and that that's not the way I play the game. The game is long term. It's not for short term gain.
And that's exactly it, mate, isn't it? We've got to kind of build on what we have, rather than taking unnecessary risks to try and hit the ball out the park. That's just not the way to trade.
Well, it's certainly not the way to accumulate your capital. That's not the way to do it, because you can lose very heavily, and that's not the game at all. So, mate, really, I've got nothing more to add.
Me neither.
Me neither. We can wax on lyrical about it all day if we like, but at the end of the day, I ain't going to trade.
Yeah, I think that's fine, mate. I think that's fair enough. We got one more day tomorrow. We'll see if things calm down then, but I suspect it probably will be for the both of us. Maybe next week that we'll feel a bit more comfortable about making some genuine speculation on the market and where it's going to go. FTSE 100 really is kind of indicative. When we kind of look at the first few 5-minute bars here on the FTSE 100, it's really kind of showing us that the market, people just they're not really sure what to do. Big move to the downside, which is suggesting some further downside, to be fair, but it's possible.
It's pretty much exactly what we're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, and there are patterns which make this a buying opportunity as well, as they always are, and it does have to take this level out and close below there, really, to be a genuine selling opportunity. So maybe under this bar would be the place. I'm sure there's going to be some buy orders just above the bar with some stops underneath now. But if it does start to move down, then I suspect we could well see the monthly pivot before we start to bounce again. And if that timing is in conjunction with Trump's speech, then that may well give us more of a reason to come down. But I'm pretty sure that would probably flush out the measured move of the Head and Shoulders. Do you know what I thought was really interesting yesterday, mate? And I was looking at this on my chart yesterday, and considering the news and data. This is the Head and Shoulders pattern. Now, this is the top of the Head and Shoulders pattern, and if we think about this on a time gauge, then this bar is kind of the start of the shoulder. So if we go right to the middle bar, then that gets us to around about 53. Sorry, is that right? Yeah, I think it's 53 days, 53 periods, so 53 days. Now, if we go out the other way, it takes us to 50. So it's near it, but it's not quite there. But it's more. I think the significance is that the right shoulder had to establish itself, and there's always going to be a 5 to 10 day range where things can change. But the fact that that right shoulder did establish itself in around about the same time that the left shoulder established itself is the interesting thing about technical analysis. There are people that will be trading this purely technically, and would have been able to make some money out of this because of the way that the way they look at the charts rather than relying on news.
I'm a symmetry man myself, mate. I like it.
Yeah, and there's no two ways about it. I mean, there's I mean, it might even be that we consider this as the right shoulder, which gives us even more symmetry, really, because that does give us to 50 and 50. Not sure why the other one was 52. Hold on a minute. Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Yeah, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. We want the first number. So the first number here, if the right shoulder starts here, the first number, and we want the periods. The first number is the one we're looking for, and it takes us over to 6 from this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then this is the 7th bar. Now, if we count the other way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and when we're down. So there's absolute symmetry there, of the left shoulder and right shoulder forming, which, as I say, which is where the technical analysts will be quite comfortable with the way that they would have traded that.
Yep. And I guess you've, on a smaller time frame, had a break and retest of that neckline as well, by the look of it.
Well, actually, yes. The retest in some respects is going on right now.
Yeah.
Because the neckline's really along here somewhere.
Yep.
So this is really the retest of the neckline. Maybe it happened in the last bar, but yeah, it does suggest that we could come down a little further if we were to do the measured move on this. Then I'm going to take it to the top end of the shoulders and the bottom end of the neckline, and it's going to give us this here. Which does actually suggest quite a bit lower. And when we look at this 63, 67, I kind of want to see where that would sit on some of the bars. And when we look at this on a weekly, it's suggesting that there could actually be, if the measure move was to play out, it's going to take us down to weekly support line. So that would be a definite place that people will be looking to buy back in again, around about 73, 67. So it's about 100 pips.
And if they went through that and down to the bottom of your range, wow.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few potential areas that may well hold it up first, but yeah, you would be looking at the bottom of that range, and that would be all the way down to around about 300 pips. So there's a chance, I suppose, that could happen.
Well, given the climate, it could happen. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, undoubtedly, mate. Undoubtedly, that's the thing, isn't it? There's no telling where this could end up.
There is not, and that's the whole point of what we've been talking about. We don't know. We've got no idea.
No, that's the key. All right, mate. Well, let's call it a day. We'll come back again tomorrow. I don't think there's anything else for us to do, but let this market unfold. So we will do that. Come back again tomorrow, same trade time, same trade channel. And I would suggest that everybody does the same, actually. And I guess you would too. Just let this market unfold, get some clarity before you do anything. It's going to be a lot safer way to play this.
Yeah, look, at the moment we're guessing. Oh, hello.
Hello, buddy.
Hey, how you guys going?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. How are you?
Yeah, mate. I've got to say, I'm feeling pretty good today. Yeah, had a round of golf this morning.
Oh,
I'm still crap at golf. Well, at the Kapiti Golf Course, believe it or not, a little 9-hole course up the back of where I live.
Wonderful.
Oh, nice. I
played the back 9 today. They're different tees to the front 9.
Yes, I know that well. I've played many courses like that.
I shot 52, Jeff. I'm still crap.
Mate, that's wonderful for 18 holes.
Yeah, it would have been if it had been 18 holes. Yeah, mate. I parred the first 2 just to make sure I was downhill from there.
Awesome.
Guys, wanted to make sure that your listeners knew about the scalping course on Saturday, 10 p.m. and 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. It's free to anybody that has a live trading account. All they need to do is to email contact@actions12 and ask to attend and send evidence of a live trading account. If you don't have a live trading account, then let the guys at contact@actions12 know, and they will sort you guys out with contact details for IFS Markets, who will give you a $500 trading credit and allow you to turn that to cash over time if you open an account and fund with them. So if you do want to do the trading course, the scalping course for free, we're going to let you all listeners join in and do that. And
Awesome.
that probably better rather than scalping just to do what you guys do. I get that, but different strokes for different folks, right?
How do
Oh.
they get into that, mate?
Mate, literally, all they've got to do is email contact actions to us and say they want
Right.
to get in there, show us a trading account of their own, not one of ours, and say, hey, look, this is it. Here it is. There's some money in it, and we will send them a link to come. If they're out of Singapore, they can attend on webinar, and if they are in Singapore, they can attend live.
And that's their own trading account with IFS.
Well, it doesn't have to do with IFS, so there's no sort of rebate thing going on here. They can have it with anyone they want, but IFS is the broker we use, so they've done a bit of a deal. Anyone that joins this week, in addition to the normal trading credit, goes in the draw to win. Two of them would win another $500 trading credit. So instead of getting $500, they get $1,000. So IFS is doing a bit of a promo for it, and certainly Kate's keen to help. So, if you are in, if you're interested in getting involved in that, just let them know. Contact at Actions to Wealth. That's TO for 2, actionstowealth.com, and they'll get you into the program, let you know everything you need to know. I'll have the email checked tomorrow, especially for you guys. Guys, it's been a good show.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, isn't it? But, what happened overnight kind of makes it a difficult market to trade. So Jeff has put the pound order in play, and we'll see how that works out. But realistically, I think the advice to everybody is let the market unfold a little bit and calm down, because
the problem with this kind of market is that the likely next move is aggression from America, and we'll see all kinds of market everywhere. But if for some reason there's no aggression from America and someone from the Pentagon said, hey, look, that's enough, let's call this off, or someone like France said, hey, we're gonna mediate this, then the market will go the other way just as quickly. And you can get caught on the right side of it, which is great, but you can get caught on the wrong side of it and get smashed up. So, you just got to say, Ash, just sit and wait and let it become a bit calmer, a bit clearer for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mate, you've been putting any oil in your tank when it went up. Did you put the oil in your tank?
Mate, I'm still sitting on that little oil trade. I tell you what, our good friend from Sydney, boy, does she smash it on gold, on both the gold spikes, Jeff. Boy, that's some money there. I think she's up around 25% in the last sort of 2.5 weeks.
Wow,
that's going okay, and that's not the world's smallest account she trades. So nice to see them. Someone who she's a gold specialist, so she deals in gold and trading gold. But nice to see her get on and smash it. Mate,
fantastic.
Got a couple of likes for the show today. Always nice when people like your show. I think it'll encourage other people to come along. Really, the show for free is ridiculously good, and do encourage you guys to like it. There's no need if you want to donate some money, but let other people know that around at this time of day that if they want to watch a good trading show, this is the one. Guys, can you see how many people are actually watching at the moment?
Jeff might have that information.
I
can. Yeah, there's only about 8 of us in the room at the moment, or 8 participants in the room at the moment. 8
watching now. It's amazing. You guys are very, very lucky. Enjoy the show, and if you can share it around, get some more people in the room, the guys would love that. They do it as much for getting together and talking about the market as anything else, but always nice to have a few more in the room.
We had one score and 4 or 5 yesterday, so they were entertained. They hung around for the good hour or so we were in the show yesterday.
Yeah, mate, I reckon it's going to be a bit like that with it being during the workday in Singapore, different people at different times. But hopefully some of the people are watching this every day and learning and getting better. That's what it's all about. Can you get better? Anyway, mate, I'll let you guys wind that up. Thanks for letting me pop in. I'll try and pop in. I often come to work in the office around 9:30, 9 o'clock New Zealand time, which is about half an hour ago. I'm going to try and pop in occasionally and just say hi.
Cool, man. That'll be great.
Okay. Cheers, guys.
Nice one. See you soon, buddy.
See you, mate.
All right, Jeff. Well, that's us, mate.
That is us. Hi, Zayden. Hi, Star Max Lord.
Star Max Lord. That's a name.
It's a name, and I don't know who it is. I can't remember who it is. So I'm really sorry.
Oh, let's just go with Star Max Lord. I think that's better than any other name that we could probably know who it is.
It's better than Darth Vader, isn't it?
Oh, have you seen the new Star Wars movie, by the way, Jeff?
No, mate, and I'm kind of okay with that.
It's killer. It is a cracker.
Oh, it's really Andrew. There you go.
Hey, Chandru, how you doing? And Zayden, nice to have you in as well.
Chandru, how come I didn't know that? Maybe I did know that and I've just forgotten.
That's because of our age, Jeff. We forget a lot, don't we?
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say, mate.
You farm bamboo, by the way.
Yeah, amazing. My geese are really doing a good job down the Bamboo. I'm really happy with those. We've now got 6 geese, and they're brown geese, not white geese, and they're
Yep.
really doing a good job on the weeds. Loving it.
No, mate, I tell you what, the all the chickens are doing is doing a good job of making manure at the moment.
That's
Dirty
a very
creatures,
useful product, you know.
Yeah.
Not chicken manure.
Yeah, I'm not going to start selling it, to be honest, Jeff. It can just, the rain will put it in the water and will grow nice things. What I'm doing
That's
obviously
right.
is preparing the the soil for the bamboo that's coming.
Ah, awesome. Now, I've just been offered 2 ton of fish waste per week, which is interesting. Alison's threatening to leave home if I take it.
What would you do with 2 tons of fish waste a week?
Well, I'm working on it. I've posed a few questions all over the state at the moment, and haven't quite worked out a way to make enough money out of it to make it worth my while. But I'm working on it. I'm getting there.
You would have thought the person with the 2 ton of fish waste would have had a pretty good try at trying to work out how to make some money from it.
Well, no, he's actually a lovely guy. He obviously processes fish for restaurants, etc., and he's now very much a eco-friendly, conscious person. And prior to now, all his fish waste has gone to landfill, which is no good to anybody. So he's very much aware that there's a value add to be had there, and he's happy to pay me to take it on that basis. But yeah, not quite worth my while to be divorced and keep it at my place.
There's nothing worth your while to be divorced. You have a wonderful wife, so you just behave yourself. And if you are going to do anything, ground bait for fishermen.
Well, look, I could actually package it up and freeze it and sell it for a reasonable amount, but that's
2
too hard.
ton. 2 ton is a lot of fish to package up a week when you're trying
It's
to.
a lot of work, isn't it?
Bamboo.
And it's a big freezer I'd have to buy as well.
My gosh. I'm with Alison. She should leave you too, buddy, if you do that crap. Don't be ridiculous.
Okay, I won't be ridiculous.
But on the bright side, if you're in Australia right now, one thing about this, I'm going to put this on record on YouTube. If you're giving money to the Australian Fire Appeal, that is a wonderful thing to do. But if you're not cutting your carbon footprint, it's pointless. If we're going to stop this in the future, if we're going to stop having to do more of this, we've all got to get onto this global warming thing and start cutting our carbon footprint. We fly less than we used to. We do all kinds of things to try and cut ours. And every person who really wants a better outcome for Australia needs to understand that you can give $1 million, but if you warm the planet another 1 degree, it's not going to make a difference in the next 5 years. It's going to be bad.
True story. We've got to get that message across to a few leaders of our governments around the world. They don't seem to want to know about it.
You have got Australia. Gosh, you picked some great prime ministers.
Incredible, isn't it?
Honestly, how did that? Yeah. Who votes in your country? Anyway, we're live on YouTube. Let's leave this alone. Get back to trading, guys. Let's get out of here. You guys have a great night, and thanks for those who attended. We'll talk to you guys later.
Shandu,
guys.
Answer your question is no, mate. I'm about 20 miles or 30 Ks away from the nearest fire. So all well here, and bamboo growing under heavy steam. Very, very good.
There has been one fire in Tasmania, hasn't there? But not close to you.
There's one serious one, quite a few little ones, but nowhere near me, no.
It's good to hear, mate. Stay safe, eh?
All good.
Cheers, guys. See you guys later.
Righto, everyone. That is it for the show. A little bit on the slow side, let's put it that way, but that's for good reason. As we've said throughout the show, it's very much a speculative thing. If you want to enter the market at the moment, it's very much a toss of the coin what's going to happen next. If you are going to enter the market, highly suggest you get a very small risk on the table and take profit as soon as you possibly can, because this market can go anywhere, anytime. See you, Ash.
See you later, buddy. See you tomorrow morning.
See you tomorrow. Have a good one, guys. Bye for now.
Cheers, guys. See ya.
See you, Paul.